Welcome, Mr. Bond. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ernst Stavro Blofeld, the head of Spectre, and the one who is causing you trouble all this time. Hi there, folks, here I am to do, a new villains discussion. Oh yeah. I mean, it has been a long time since I did a new villain discussion, because the last villain discussion I did was about Doctor Doom, and so I thought like, fuck, now is the fucking time to do one. And then I thought like, that now that the movie Spectre has been released and everything, so I thought like, it would be good to talk about the James Bond Arch-Nemesis, and of course, the head of Spectre, Ernst Stavro Blofeld. That's right. But before I come to the main villain discussion and everything about him, I just only wish to say that after all being thinking and everything about this discussion, I decided one thing, and for all of you, it's more like an important update. I'm gonna do villain discussion, one villain for a week. So this week's will be Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and for the next week, who knows? It will be a surprise. So, with all being said, let's begin. So, before I came to the discussion and everything, I just want to say what we know. So, Ernst Stavro Blofeld, like everybody knows, is the most iconic and influential villain, and he's the overall main antagonist in the James Bond series, not only movies, but also in the novels. Well, almost main villain, let's just put it that way. Almost in every single movie. And also Ernst Stavro Blofeld is the head of the global terrorist organization of Spectre. When we talk about Spectre as an organization, when we talk about the type of the organization, it's more like, a criminal organization, a terrorist organization, and private intelligence agency. And for the ones who doesn't know, Spectre is not like when you see this organization, you're gonna see Spectre. No. Because if you didn't notice, every single letter in the word Spectre is an initial of what Spectre truly means. So, for ones who doesn't know that, let's begin. So, Spectre stands for Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion. And for ones who didn't hear, I think I was very speedy, so I repeat again. Spectre. Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion. So now, with all being said, now you know what this organization stands for. And of course, when we talk about foundation, he was founded by somewhere in middle 1950s. When Blofeld was already tried to rise to power. Because for once who doesn't know that, because in the last movie Spectre, he was played by Christoph Waltz. And the way his backstory was made, he was made like he was from Austria. But in reality, in the novels, Blofeld is from Poland. So, and also, in the way how he built himself and everything, he's the type of kind of villain. He's the type of villain who builds himself from ground zero to top. And that's the way how Blofeld did. So he was born in Poland and everything. And of course, he started all this, Spectre Foundation and everything, with, of course, I know that half of the fortune, how he created Spectre and his business ways and everything, I know that half of this was from the fortune he had from his parents, and half of it he earned by himself. And after all the years and everything, when he grew older and older, he created Spectre, which also, and that is how I know, because he thought like when creating Spectre, he thought like because his own target for himself is to be someone, to become someone important, someone big. And of course, that's when we come to Ernst Stavro Blofeld himself. When we talk about his allies, his code names, he was known like Number 1, Willard White, Count Balthazar, the Bleachhump, something like that. And then from the last movie, Franz Oberhauser. Which also we talk about Number 1. I'll explain you why he's known as Number 1. Because in the old Spectrum, in old movies, every single agent of Spectre was known by his code name Number 1, Number 2, Number 3, Number 4, Number 5, and then the list goes on and on. Remind me a lot of of the One Piece manga Baroque Works, because even because it was founded and led by Sir Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai, who's also his code name wasn't number 1, but it was Mr. Zero. And every single agent was called, male agent was called Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3, Mr. 4, Mr. 5, and the list goes on and on. And the girls was known as Miss Monday, Miss Wednesday, Miss Father's Day, Miss Golden Week, Miss Merry Christmas, but whatever, you get the point. And then on the same way, that's how, in the old, age, every single agent of Spectre was known. And of course, when the number is small, that means on the higher ranks. So, like I said, his origins are 007, and occupation very simple: supreme leader, head and founder of Spectre organization. And when we talk about his power skills, Blofeld was known, like in every single movie. He never had any specific fighting skills. I mean, I never saw him with everyone never saw him fighting, and the only thing I ever saw him was using guns. Which actually, I have to say that he's a good marksmanship. Or should I say, sorry, he's a good shooter. When we talk about guns. But when we talk about his real power and skills are high intelligence, immense financial resources, controls a worldwide network of criminal and assassins. Because wherever he is, whenever what kind of always a mission or trouble is, he always sends one of his agents or a normal criminal or an assassin to do his dirty work, because he is the kind of type of villain who wants to keep his hands clean. When I talk about, and also he's one of the type of villains that he wants to keep his profile very low, secretly. So no kind of big, like for example, MI6, CIA, FBI, nobody will ever know who he really is. And that's one of the most clever things when a good villain can do. Make his profile very low. Nobody knows who he really is, or should I say, nobody knows him who he really is. Only maybe some of them know him as number 1. Well, no, number 1 only the only one who knows him is his agents, his members. Which also, when I talk about his hobby, well, the only hobby I can tell is petting his cat. Yeah, he's a big white pussycat. He always had, wherever he goes, and every single time when he's escaping, he always had his cat with him. Always. And when we talk about his goals, very easy. Defeat and kill James Bond, and when we talk about Spectre's specific goal, world domination. Same good old dream, and like James Bond said in Dr. No, our silences are full of people who think they are Napoleon or God. Because everybody knows when we talk about world domination is the highest step that every single villain can do. Ernst Stavro Blofeld, he's that kind of villain who wants to do that big step. Like always, when we talk about the type of villain he is, well, I can tell that he is a bigger bad, a terrorist, and a master of hero in some sort of way. But also, I can even add that he is a master manipulator, crime lord, faceless villains. When we talk about, from Russia with Love and Thunderball. And also megalomaniac, power-hungry, evil ruler, hijacker, terrorist, mastermind, master of disguise, big bads, hegemony, warmonger, blackmailers, and the list goes on and on. And also, don't forget to mention, he is also an aristocrat. But when we talk about Blofeld's character, in the old movies, he was played by a lot of actors. Well, mostly different was in the first two, Thunderball and From Russia with Love, because he was played by 2 actors. One of them gave him the voice, and one of them played him. But that was the first times when he never showed his face. Only he was playing his cat, sitting in a chair, and the first time was in some kind of a, I can call it a Spectre yacht, and the other one was in I think it was the other side of a bank, something like that. When Emilio Largo in Thunderball first time he came there at some kind of a Spectre meeting of of all the booty they had earned. Or should I say booty? I mean money, not that kind of booty. But what about actors? He was played by a lot of actors. He was played by so in the first 2 movies, Thunderball and From Russia with Love, he was played by Anthony Dawson and voiced by Eric Pullman. Then really played by Donald Pleasance, Telly Savalas, Charles Gray, John Hollis, and also in the specific time he was voiced by Robert Wrighty. I mean, again, actor and voicing, and then he was played by Max von Sydow, and then at the end, Christoph Waltz. Like as you can see, he was played by a lot of actors, and only two of them were, as the design, they were made like they were bold. One of them, when you talk about facial and everything, they were all right. But two of them have scars. One of them was Donald Pleasance, and one of them was Christoph Waltz at the end. So when I can talk about what kind of actor played Blofeld perfectly, for my opinion, it was Christoph Waltz. The last actor. He played them really perfectly. I mean, the other actors were good. The other actors were also good, but not that quite enough because they were mostly serious. But they were okay. They were okay. But Christoph Waltz was the best. And now let's talk about Ernst Stavro Blofeld. So when we talk about his past, it's very simple because he built all his fortune, all this specter out of nothing. He was born in Poland. So half of his fortune he earned from his family. The other half he earned it by himself. And then after he was in some kind of ages, I believe when he was in his 40s, something like that, because or in his 30s, because I know that in the novels he was I believe in his 50s. So he had built a specter maybe when he was in his 40s or 30s, something like that. But in short words, he built all this fortune out of nothing. And well, I cannot say a lot of villains did that, but there also are a few villains who did build something out of nothing. And a villain who does that, and he only does that for one thing, to be someone, to complete his own goals, his own missions, and to be someone. Or should say superior than anyone else. And that's what Blofeld wants to be when he tries to conquer the world, because conquering the world is the old school dream. Mostly a lot of villains try to do that, but they always fail. When I talk about villains, I mean from series, cartoons, movies, manga, everywhere. They try to do that, but they fail. Also, when I talk about his design, mostly in his design, when Max von Sydow played him and Thunderbolt and From Russia with Love, he was built as a kind of a businessman. When we talk about Charles Gray, Telly Savalas, Donald Pleasance, and Christoph Waltz, and John Hollis, and also the Blofeld was in that time was voiced by Robert Wrighty. He was designed as some kind of in a military style. Christoph Waltz Blofeld wasn't. He was mostly designed as a kind of businessman, not exactly like in the first two movies of Blofeld when he appeared, but somehow it was similar like in those other four actors that I said. But because so in some way, mostly he was seen in the movies like some kind of in a military way. Also in the novels, and also I had to say in the novels like Charles Gray, Christoph Waltz, Max von Sydow, and first Anthony Dawson. Blofeld have hair. He was not bald like Donald Pleasance and Telly Savalas. In the show words, he's not bald. That's what you have to know. And also, he's the type of villain who doesn't like failures. That's one thing. Mostly, a lot of villains they don't like that. But Blofeld, he's one of them. He doesn't like failures because From Russia with Love, at the beginning, number 3, some kind of Russian lady, when she failed to kill James Bond and complete her mission, she thought like Blofeld was gonna kill her, but instead he killed the other one, only to give her a lesson. And that kind of type of villain is an ordinary villain because, again, he doesn't like failures, and every single time when a henchman fails. Sometimes few villains, they kill someone else so they can teach him a lesson to not fail, or next time they'll be next. For example, like when his henchman killed instead of this old lady, this another Spectre agent in poison. Also in one part, I remember she feed a woman to the crocodiles, and also to give his partner and to her partner a lesson that if he fails like her. He will be next as crocodile's main course. So in short words, he doesn't like failures. And also, he doesn't like when someone is getting his way. Well, most specifically, almost every single villain doesn't like that. And also, when I talk about Blofeld in his intelligence, he reminds me a lot of James Moriarty. because both of them are super criminal mastermind, or that kind of diabolical kind. You know, they try to do, like they try to prove that muscles and abilities and fighting skills are not enough to have to show the world a good villain. The most important thing is of being a villain is your mind, your intelligence, your intellect, in the way how you think, in the way how you plan. That's what Blofeld, also Moriarty, tries to show. But I mean, they're not the only one who have a supreme, high intelligence. But to give you as an example, because Blofeld and Moriarty are very similar. Also, when I talk about faceless villains, like in the two movies, Thunderbolt and From Russia with Love, he remind me a lot of Dr. Claw, which also Blofeld was an inspiration when they were creating Dr. Claw, the arch enemy of Inspector Gadget. So you get the idea. And also his Mad Society is a parody of Spectre. So in the show words, like I said, Blofeld is a classic villain. He doesn't have any superpowers. He doesn't have any fighting skills. He doesn't have he's a shooter, good shooter. But you get to my point. The only thing he have, his greatest weapon is his fortune, his, what should I say, money, and of course, high intelligence. And of course, he's the kind of type of villain who is hungry for power, who is hungry for more power, and to be somebody. To rule the world, to be superior, to pretend he's a god, that everyone he's beneath him, in some point. And also remind me a lot of Doctor Doom, because in a way he tries to rule the world, but also he wants to change it, because his motto in some point is out with the old, in with the new. That's in some way how Blofeld thinks, and he thinks like like in every single not every single villain, but almost like Doctor Doom, he tries to conquer the world and change it, but he's doing it in the wrong way. By extermination, by killing, destruction, chaos, and everything. So he tries to make the governments. He tries to give the governments his point, like that he will do anything to get his goal complete, in some way. Also, he's one of the type of villains who he have a low profile. No one ever. The only first person who knows his real name is James Bond. Nobody ever knew before his real name. The only one who ever knew him is number one, but I think there are only members of Spectre who knows him like that. So in short words, he also wants to keep his role profile. Nobody ever knew about Spectre or him, his real identity. I mean, in short words, before James Bond shows up and reveals Spectre, they were like some kind of a legend story, created by a criminal underworld in some sort of way. That's how people would describe before James Bond. I mean, it was really cool, really cool. I mean, Blofeld really is a classic villain, but very ingenious and very smart. And he also, he thinks before he acts. Which also makes him very wise. But also somehow I can see he's too much self-confident and he has too much pride on himself. Which also, in a short words, his ego is one of his greatest weaknesses and why his plans failed. But also, he's also great in escaping, because almost every single time Blofeld always escaped. Well, except Diamonds Are Forever and Spectre, and Spectre movie, where he was arrested. And of course, in one of the last Roger Moore James Bond movies, he died by falling down a factory chimney. So in short words, but in short terms, he also is good in escaping. And when everyone's questioning why they always run, well, to build a new plan and strike again. Blofeld also is not that kind of type of villain, who will go on even without his agents, his assassins, even when he's alone. Like he's not that kind of type of villain, who will try to destroy his enemies even if he's alone. No, he's the type of villain, like if he knows that he's failing, he will back up, escape, and then complete another plan. Now we're coming to the end of the villain discussion about Ernst Stavro Blofeld. So at the end, the only thing I can wish to say is that Ernst Stavro Blofeld, he's a very classical villain. That type of villain, who thinks that the high level intellect, the criminal mind is far more important and powerful their normal strength or shooting or martial arts, fighting skills, whatever. They're kind of classic villain, just like James Moriarty. Because why describe James Moriarty more like Ernst Stavro Blofeld? Because both of them are on the same level. Both of them are not fighters, and they don't have martial arts and everything. They only have incredible big criminal minds, and that's why they are equal in some point. So with all being said, now we came to the points of 1 to 10. I mean, Blofeld is a great villain. He's also one of my favorite villains of all time, but he's not 10 out of 10. I mean, he's not that kind of type of villain. I mean, for my opinion, he deserves 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, 8.5 out of 10 is fair enough, for Blofeld. I mean, he's good, he's clever, he's very good, and a classic and an iconic villain, but he still has something, to learn and something a little bit more, to make him complete, to make him perfect. But still 8.5 out of 10 is very good. Yeah, it's still good and everything. So I'm done. So with this being said, the points and everything, I'm done. All over and out. So as always, I'm done with the video. Comment, subscribe. Give me thoughts and ideas. Give me something which personally think about Blofeld. If you want drop me a like, I'd appreciate that. And also, if you want your own personal villains, to be discussed and everything, put the name of that villain in the comments down below. Like I said before, drop a like, I'd appreciate that. So peace everyone, have an awesome rest of the day. And until next week of Villains Discussion. See you around.